This is a tale as old as time. Patrons of the art had more money, artists were starving, and were easily compromisable.
Artists were starving and easily compromisable. Is that the business model? That's rough. That's rough. You might know All American Rejects most recently from their viral house party tour. The surprise backyard pop-ups that have been happening across the country. One happened here in East Nashville where I live. They also opened for the Jonas Brothers Stadium tour this year, but many also know them from hits like Dirty Little Secret and Gives You Hell. Hope it gives you hell, hope it gives you hell. What's fascinating is how Tyson's been speaking out about the independent artist grind lately. While major label artists are struggling with traditional models, he's been vocal about new approaches to building sustainable careers in the music industry. How does an established brand like All American Rejects end up in someone's backyard? This perspective from someone who's seen both sides of the industry, that's what I want to dig into today. Let's watch.
Why are you all not working through a major record label this time?
I love how confused he is. Like, is it not obvious to you? Like, I feel like that's the vibe.
Really?
I feel like you've been kind of dancing around it a bit here. Yeah,
NPR
tell
why?
us. Yeah, tell us.
Here's the deal. It started in 1950.
I think it's interesting. I mean, NPR is this like established media brand. I didn't watch the full interview, so I don't know if she's like shitting on that approach, but it's funny to like talk about this new independent artist approach to a media brand like NPR, I think.
When people were given booze and $5 bills to get their songs taken away from them and let the big ivory towers pave their golden steps on the backs of artists. This is a tale as old as time.
Something that really gets to me here in Nashville, if you ever visit Nashville, a lot of people come and they visit Music Row. I mean, a lot of songs have been written there, but you walk down Music Row and the opulence of these buildings is just like insane. If you go to any label headquarters, they're just some of the nicest buildings you've ever seen. And every time I'm down there, this opulence is built off the backs of artists. You know, like obviously a lot of those artists have benefited from those relationships as well, but it's just hard to for me not to see that when I'm down there. So I don't know. I agree with him.
Patrons of the art had more money, artists were starving, and were easily compromisable. And fast forward 300 years.
Artists were starving and easily compromisable. Is that the business model? That's rough. That's rough. Not everyone shares these perspectives. I definitely agree with him.
When I signed my first record deal, there was enough money for me to say, it doesn't matter. You want to be... It wasn't even about the money at that point. The lure of a major label record was you made it. The trap was already... It wasn't even a trap. It was like I don't know. It's like a fairy tale of, the poisoned apple.
A lot of artists are not motivated by money. Another way that labels get artists and get them to sign all these crazy deals is that there has been this, I don't know how this developed, but he just spoke to it. You feel like, all right, I made it. Like there's almost like a validation of the art that you're putting out. And the label kind of gives you that. I always say that like Nashville is a town obsessed with itself. To me, like that doesn't really make any sense because, not only do I feel like the music industry is moving that way or technology is moving that way, but shouldn't you be like obsessed with your fans and making a connection with them instead of like internally focusing on this like validation that some corporate monster can give you?
Except the poison doesn't hit you until you're 3 records in and somebody...
So you felt like you made it and then...
Of course. And for a second, everything was great. It's like utopia, dystopia, right? The moment that it starts, it's great. They did put us out into the world. Times were different. You had MTV and radio. Mm-hmm. They got us there. They were the gatekeepers to this. There was only one way.
And that's true. I mean, in the old way of doing... the way it was set up, you kind of had to go that. You didn't really have a choice. So, I mean, thank God there is another choice. There is another avenue to connecting with a fan base, really. Like, you don't have to do that through MTV or through the Jay Leno show or getting on SNL or whatever. Playing the Macy Thanksgiving Day Parade. You can do this directly with your fans. You can interface with them directly.
But it's 2025 now. And if you're an independent artist, guess what you do? You have your own audience.
Yeah, I love that. I hadn't watched the full clip, but I'm speaking the same language, and I'm interested to watch this next clip. Let's dive in.
Do you hate the art and commerce that comes along with promoting new music? Because it's about the brand and the narrative, maybe less so than the music.
It's a fair question. Like, it's one that gets asked a lot. But when I was in the Army, I was an artillery officer. Guess how much time we spent as a percentage actually shooting cannons? Like, it was probably like 5% of the time, or even less than that. In any profession that you're in, or any job that you have, there's things that you have to do that just aren't directly related to like what you're like selling, or what you're making money from, or what it is that you do, quote unquote. I mean, it's fair question, because I feel like it gets asked a lot, but I just don't understand why in the music industry it feels like it's no different than any other industry. I mean, this is normal, standard operating procedure in any other industry.
Does it upset you that people are so consumed with the business of it and less so about the art of it?
I mean, there's always been business with music in order to get it to these people, right?
That's a great pivot. One thing that's interesting, I think maybe he'll talk about this later in the clip, but the All American Rejects are an old enough band that they had to grind on a daily basis to play live, really. Drive 6 hours here, drive 14 hours there. That isn't the art, you know? I mean, I like, there's always an element of, well, I don't want to do this, but I have to do this, I feel like. And that's changed and shifted a lot. It's no different. Like it's maybe called by a different name, but.
And it's funny, I saw another like little Bowie snippet of saying, when you make your song, it's half of the completion of your art. It's when it's received, interpreted, and felt that it is completed. So that there's a bunch of guys in ivory towers with really fat suits that roll joints up in the Hamptons while they eat their lobsters that probably don't know fucking anything about music.
I think that's, obviously I'm biased, but a fair criticism of a lot of like music industry executives. Whether it was ever there or not, there's been a departure from serving artists. Now it's more about control and power. They're able to wield this, definitely this like financial power that they wield. And this is obviously dying and changing, and like people are becoming aware of it. Like he talked about, I think in the last clip, but like, you know, like you felt like they could wield this power of like, oh, you made it. We accept you. We give you our validation. Like
lining their pockets mostly more than yours.
Yeah.
That's the fucking business, man. But putting an offering out in 2025, we're labelless. We have surrounded ourselves by incredibly passionate people that have like bootstrapped this project. That
right there is an underrated piece of being independent. When you get signed to a label, I know this because I've worked on these teams. You're just kind of they sign so many people nowadays, especially, but you're kind of a dime a dozen. Like there aren't people that like have like bought in on who you are. There maybe is like one or two people at the label, but like just an average marketing person or content strategy person or whatever, like they aren't necessarily bought in on who you are. And as an independent artist, like you have autonomy in like choosing who works on the project. And you know, that can be challenging to choose the right people, but like he spoke to, you can choose people that are like passionate about that and at least bought in, even if they're not as like competent maybe as some of the you know, label execs or marketing people that the label has, who you have limited access to.
The beautiful thing, and I think young artists, it's like the most exciting time that Gen Alpha is going to be the swan song of this modern age, because they get to create their audience because of the access. I mean, I know this kid here, he's literally an aspiring DJ, and I'm watching him in real time cultivate an audience just by sitting in his room and putting it out in the world. Yeah. So you have so much more power as an artist.
It's cool to hear him say that you have so much more power as an artist now. I think that a lot of times it feels like you don't. I didn't come up in the music industry when he came up in the music industry, but that is what he is saying. You know, like I feel like there's a lot of like yearning for Well, I've literally heard people talk about going back to more of a gatekeeper model. And I don't know. I don't know if that's best for the artist, you know? I don't know. It kind of is a choice between that and just having more power, more autonomy over the project and music and what you do with your career.
It is business. It is bizarre now how much we look before we listen as the collective culture today.
When you say you're labelless, it's really expensive to put out music and tour.
Absolutely.
Touring is almost impossible now without funding, right?
Yeah, no, we rode in vans, we slept on fans' houses, floors, we accepted the meals of the kind and generous.
You can still do that, and I know artists that do it, but you can also completely avoid that from the comfort of your bedroom, just putting music out through content. There was a grind that these artists, I think, experienced that, you know, now they're seeing like, okay, wow, you have the power to connect directly with your audience. You can like shape that audience. You can, and I know that it's challenging to figure out how to do that, and it feels like, but I don't know. I think if you approach this with the same amount of consistency that they approached touring and coming up through touring, then you can find similar success. And not only similar success, but have way more autonomy and power over your career. Let's check out this last clip. This is Pardon My Take. He's in a band himself, actually. So I think this comes from like a kind of, at least a familiar to the music industry perspective.
It feels like a lot of bands, they either died real soon, and you could hear kind of the creativity and the inspiration draining from their music, or they had to evolve. And when you evolve in that genre, you might lose some fans that you used to have. You might gain some new fans. What was it like for you guys? Did you make a conscientious effort to change the music at all, or to just grow, just let things happen?
Dude, man, you never approach art with the intention of writing for someone besides yourself, man.
Mm-hmm. You get on these label teams, you get signed. There's so many chefs in the kitchen telling you this, telling you that. I feel like I've seen artists get in those positions and they just start losing touch with themselves. You know, sometimes you can write formulaically, or you can cut a song that is written by a really like strong songwriter, and that happens a lot, I feel like, in Nashville. But I don't know, you start to lose touch with that. I don't know, with yourself and what you want to say.
If it's truth and if it's coming out of you, it's because you are drawn to it, and you have to find it. You got to pull it out of the old cosmos and put it on paper.
I love that. I mean, I think I always call that the muse or higher power. You see a lot of the most successful songwriters talk about music in that way. I remember Chris Martin from Coldplay getting interviewed, and he was talking about how he started receiving songs at age 14. And I think when there are so many chefs in the kitchen, as a signed artist, when the team becomes this just like an amalgamation of like different, you know, your interests, and then a lot of, just to be honest, like corporate interests, bottom line interests, then you begin to lose touch with that muse. Like it's just harder to hear that, I think, hear those songs with all the noise around you.
And I think authenticity right now is so permeable and perceptible. Is that a word?
Yeah,
we
sure.
can perceive this so much now through our black mirrors, right? So like if something's bullshit, it screams bullshit, especially on the feed. You're like, oh man, that's a real dude. Oh man, here's horse shit.
I mean, as someone that has worked in content for the last 5 years, that's absolutely true. I mean, I've really had to like pivot and shift my service. You know, I used to offer essentially the equivalent of me trying to get inside of the artist brand and run it from like inside, you know, like audiences can sniff that out. It doesn't work. And I'm sure you're aware of yourself. If you're honest about the way that you scroll, everyone can just tell whether or not something is authentic or not. When there's this dissonance between what you feel like you should be doing and what 14 label people are telling you that you need to do, it becomes really easy on social media, especially, to see that like you're just not being yourself and you're not being authentic.
Yeah, I think the people that are fucking it up for themselves. I think, you know, the cream rises and the milk sinks.
That was cool. I don't know if you guys like that or not. Kind of a little bit of a new thing for us, but it's cool to see his perspective on being an independent artist, you know, after going through pretty much a full career of being signed and then released and then now finding new success through authenticity in just like in the freedom of stuff like these backyard shows. I think these big brands like the Jonas Brothers, they see that those guys are, I mean, if you watch their social media, I mean, they're very tuned in on what's working, what doesn't work, and they understand that like these guys get what is now, I think, which is complete and utter authenticity.